You're listening to the In This League Fantasy Podcast Network at inthisleague.com. Download, lock in, and puck up. Hockey is here, and we've got the #1 podcast for fantasy hockey. It's the Roto Hockey Show with your hosts, Tony Healey and Brian Matthews.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Hello and welcome to the Roto Hockey Show. I'm Tony Healey here with Brian Matthews, ready to talk a little fantasy hockey. I can't even do the hockey right. This cold is kicking my butt here.
You're sick. The rest of the world is sick.
Like 3 weeks into it, it's like, come on,
everybody.
You know,
Battle.
I can run on a treadmill, lift weights, and everything's fine. But God forbid I talk.
Yeah. I sounded like you last week, or actually the beginning of this week, because I was yelling and screaming on Sunday. Because finally,
yeah, I bet.
Finally, Tone, you know my hatred of the Buffalo Sabres this year, matched only by my love of the Philadelphia Eagles this year. Obviously one of my favorite teams ever, and then goes on this magical little run. And what happens? They win the goddamn Super Bowl. I would have never guessed in a million years that would have happened this year. And they just kept playing bonkers.
What did I tell you?
And it was awesome.
What did I say? Nick Foles, the next Jeff Hostetler.
It worked. They played like unbelievable, like just a crazy, crazy game. Very entertaining, but very stressful. My direct TV signal went out at the beginning of the fourth quarter. I lost it for the rest of the. I wish I were joking. There was a crazy snowstorm / sleet, freezing rain, and I lost my direct TV signal. I watched the fourth quarter on my laptop
on Yahoo. Nice. Thank God for Yahoo, right?
So, yeah, crazy.
You know what? As entertaining as that game was, and don't get me wrong, it was entertaining. The after party, and I don't think you can call it a party. The aftermath in Philly was
chaos.
The best part. Who knew The Walking Dead was going to start after the Eagles won the Super Bowl?
Bonkers. People are insane.
My favorite was it the Crown Plaza or the. What was the hotel where they were jumping on the awning? The guy was doing backflips.
One of the hotels.
They were running up and down the street with pieces of it.
Crazy, absolutely crazy. So awesome. Bonkers. So yeah, Monday I was on the struggle bus big time, but definitely worth it. So yeah, hockey has been like complete back burner for me this week. I have to admit, my teams last week played like garbage. I made a trade in a keeper league because my team's so far out of it. So I got that going for me.
That's good. I have to start moving some pieces.
What do you think of this deal? I moved Dustin Byfuglien and I received Ivan Provorov in exchange. Keeper league. Byfuglien very high priced. So remember that this is an auction league and it cost a S ton of money. So,
all right. Well, that makes a big difference. Keeper league, Byfuglien's probably on the downside of his career. You're hoping Provorov is going to be something special moving forward, and he definitely could be. I feel like his offense is capped right now with Gosper there, but. We'll see how it goes. He's young.
Solid.
He's so,
and I feel like I got a commodity. I got somebody
time.
else in the trade. I just am forgetting who right now.
No, that's okay. It's always an piece. I was hoping that there would be more of that.
Evgeny Dadonov from Florida. I'm kind of the throw-in on that one.
Fantastic deal. That's a great deal. I like it. I'm down. I'm down.
I mean, he's got 11 goals, 20 assists on the season. He's been skating with Barkov and.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, no,
he's looked good.
Yeah.
Barkov.
So those two for Byfuglien, I like the move. Don't lose too much of the physicality from Byfuglien to Provorov. Obviously, lose a little bit of the offense, but I feel like for the cost, definitely worth it and worth
picked up in blocks, right?
Yeah, a little bit. So anyway, my teams are trash except for one. So. But hey, I don't care.
Well, I've been
Eagles Super Bowl champs. Sabres still suck. My fantasy team's garbage. So all I can do now is bask in the glow of Philadelphia's Super Bowl and help out our listeners. That's what I got to look forward to this spring.
That's not a bad thing. It's really not. You know what? My teams are all doing okay. I'm right there in the playoff hunt in every league. But I have been on fire in DFS. FanDuel, doesn't matter, football or hockey. I won the Super Bowl thing for FanDuel, and that was fun. And then hockey, I've been doing really well. And the draft app, I have been crushing it.
Nice.
So
yeah, you're on a little roll.
I just doubled my bankroll in 2 days. It's been fantastic.
Good work.
So. All right, let's get to the meat of the podcast here, folks. If you're listening to the podcast, you likely found us on iTunes, SoundCloud, or through our partners, the In This League Fantasy Podcast Network or the Grandstand Sports Network. Hopefully you can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Stitcher, or whatever podcast app you use. And please don't forget to submit your reviews of the podcast on iTunes and all the other sites that you use. We have a bunch of new listeners this year, and we really enjoyed the feedback, and we are happy to mention you on the show. And I would be remiss to say, since we did mention the ITL Sports Network, Bogman and the Welsh put out 99 player debates for fantasy baseball coming up this year. A book that you can purchase the PDF version on Amazon or I think you have to go through the ITL website, but you can find their 99 player debates book there on Amazon, and it's chock full of awesome stuff. So if you play fantasy baseball, you should definitely go check it out.
We have people with questions, Joe.
And we have answers.
You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Oh, we are going to lay down some big time truth here. All right. We have like one of my favorite questions of all time that we get to answer on the podcast. And it has like very minimal fantasy hockey, I guess. I don't know. But it's just a good one. All right. Mike, like I said, great question to get us started on the episode. He hosts the Degenerated podcast for his Degenerate Fantasy Hockey League. All right. So take a search, check it out. He interviews, recaps, and previews the week for his league. I think it's awesome idea. I wish every league would do it. But this league this year has a bit of a interesting wager on it. All right. It's a 12-man keeper league. They keep 7 skaters, 2 goalies max, or 7 players, 2 goalie max, 1 defenseman mandatory. It's the basic categories: goals, assists, points, power play points, plus minus game winning goals, and then wins, goals against, save percentage, and shutouts for D. All right. Or for goalies, not D. And he writes, one of our league members, Dave, is getting married in Cancun in May. Cue the Mexican
toilet water story, ready to go at all times.
All right. Dave has made the guy who wrote the question, Mike, and another league member, Jay, co-best men. That's a pretty big honor, like to be a best man in somebody's wedding, even if it is co-best man, right? All right. The night he told Mike and Jay about this, they were 20 drinks deep, and Mike asked the inevitable question, who gets to stand beside his friend Dave at the ceremony, right? Okay. Because as co-best men, the shotgun position, the ceremony is definitely key. Dave suggested a competition between them, and Mike said, whoever finishes higher this year in our league gets the honor. So they agreed. All right. Whoever goes further in the playoffs.
Like this fantasy hockey impacting people's weddings.
Yes. All right. So whoever goes further in the league stands by him. All right. Now, there's been a little twist since then. There's only 3 of them in the wedding party. Okay. There's the 2 best men and the maid of honor or matron of honor. I'm not sure which one. And apparently Mike says she is a babe and the winner gets to walk with her, stand next to Dave in the wedding, and the losers got to walk up and down the aisle by themselves.
Nice. Maid of honor. Wow. Hey, single? Do we know what is that like? Potential for like shenanigans afterwards. Like, I mean, consenting adults. I mean, that's like a shoo-in right there. I mean, that's a huge advantage if one of these gentlemen is looking for, I don't know, a little up in the game. I don't know. It's going to depend on her. I mean, I don't want to,
Hey, all I'm going to say is when you're in a wedding, and I've been in plenty of weddings, and you're walking down the aisle, if the girl standing next to you is not related to you, whether you're in a relationship or not, the girl sitting next to you is not related to you and she's pretty, you walk a little taller. Your chest is puffed out a little bigger.
Right, a little better. I didn't know where you were going with that, but I'm glad that's where I went.
That's where it's
okay, good. All right,
I'm just saying it's happened to me before, and I'll tell you what. I'm very, very happy.
What the hell is going on here? Come on, Mike.
7 points out of a playoff spot, and he is in 8th place, okay?
Yeah.
He doesn't play any teams that are currently in the playoffs. Yeah. The only team that he plays in the last 5 weeks is the 7th place team. He wants to know, do I sell off everything in a keeper league and make a push to make the playoffs and win the best man spot, or do I throw in the towel now and just walk down the aisle by myself?
I mean, that's a tough question because you could get some sympathy by going solo down the aisle. That could bode well in your favor at the reception. You could go with the attractive matron of honor. That also increasing your entertainment value for the evening, potentially. Also means that you have fantasy hockey bragging rights over the third wheel here, Jay or whomever the other guy is. You know, Tone, it's always tough to be in this position, but I always say flags fly forever. So you can set yourself up for what you think is going to be a great keeper team years down the road, and it may or may not work out. But I say if you're in a position to make the playoff push, get yourself a cozy spot next to the matron of honor and be your wingman for your boy at his wedding. You got to make that push.
Make the push. Treat this as a one-off league. Yeah. Go for broke. I don't care what you have to trade because you know what? Honestly, losing the next couple of years, so you lost. Big deal.
Yeah. You're going to have great stories from the wedding. And you can always lord this over the other guy's head that, you know what, if you were a better fantasy hockey player, you would have stood next to our buddy and you would have got to walk down the aisle with this very attractive female.
I would lie, cheat, and steal my way to walking down the aisle with somebody and not doing it alone.
Yeah.
And then after I did that, to come out on top, I would have some sort of sign that said I suck at fantasy hockey to paste on that guy's back during the reception.
Yeah, you can't do it during the ceremony. You can't mess that up for people's parents. They'll be pissed off at you.
Yeah, that's very true.
But the reception, you can go ahead. Oh, and I wonder does this guy get to make the best man speech as well?
Well, I think they're sharing that.
Because I was going to say you could throw some definite shade whoever gets that coveted spot if they get a speaking role as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, that just ups the ante then for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
we're there.
Mike, go do what you got to do to win.
Yes. And then let us know how it goes.
Pictures.
Yeah. Yes, we want pictures for sure.
Yeah. Photos it didn't happen.
All right. So Mike's going for broke. Next up, we have a commissioner shenanigans question.
Oh, those are always good.
Joe writes, "Hey guys, my friend is a commissioner in a league I've been in for the last few years. He has a history of getting one-sided deals pushed through in his favor. He's friends with everyone else in the league, and I don't know any of them. A month ago, he proposed the following trade. He receives Tyler Seguin. He gives up Jake Gensel and Mikko Koivu. At the time, Seguin was the top-rated fantasy player. Gensel and Koivu weren't even in the top 75. I opposed the trade, obviously, but it still went through. My question to you is, do I stay in this league, or is this the last straw and get out? Like I said, he has a history of getting trades like this pushed through, and miraculously always finishes first or second every year. Love the show and keep up the great work." That's a pretty crappy trade. I mean, that's a really crappy trade to go through.
I mean, it's it's 2 C's for an A+.
Well, that's just it. And listen, it's supposed to be fun. And if this stuff is going on, it's not fun for anybody except the jerk that's getting Sagan.
Right.
So I would finish the league out, do whatever I could do.
And then you got to walk away. If this is a pattern, again, it's obviously this guy's using his position as commissioner to talk people into it and encourage this type of trading. And, we both have said that we're not huge fans of vetoes of trades because then you get people who are just
veto monster.
Yeah, well, they're just opposing trades because it's bad for them competitively, and they're pissed that a team ahead of them or a team behind them in the standings is going to do better, and so they nix the trade. And so I hate that, but at the same time, what ends up happening is you could have situations like this. So you let this go through, you finish out the year, and then you just call it a day because this is ridiculous.
Yeah, especially if there's any money on the line. I would be so
big time. Angry. Yeah, that's like, I mean, the only other thing is to try to fight fire with fire, but that's still at the end of the season puts me in a position where I'm like, I've had my fun with this because, like you said, this is supposed to be enjoyable. There are times where, listen, it can get cutthroat, especially when money's on the line and people take it really serious. But if it's a friends league and you're doing stuff like this, just not cool, man.
No, not at all. All right, Brian.
Last question. Up. James wanted to know if we had any thoughts for the fantasy implications for what the New York Rangers are about to do. And funny that James sent this question because he sent it, and then a few days later, the Rangers took to Twitter to send this like 5 or 6 tweet missive to their fans and the hockey community talking about how more or less that the time has come for a bit of a rebuild, and we're sorry, but we're about to trade some fan favorites and guys that have been with this team a while. It didn't work out like we planned. We made a bunch of playoff games. We made it to the Stanley Cup final, didn't get it done. We got to start over. So I think you're going to be seeing guys like Nash, guys like McDonough, Grabner, JT Miller. I mean, who else? Do you think Kreider and Zuccarello move?
No, I think they're part of the rebuild. They're young enough. I mean, you would assume they hold on to Zibanejad, and they're weak down the middle. Oh boy.
Yeah. So I think that's the big thing is that for the guys that stay, their fantasy value certainly takes a hit. I mean, Kreider's still hurt. Zibanejad hasn't been the same post-concussion as he was pre. Lundqvist's value certainly declines.
Yeah, definitely.
But some of the young players who may see their role increase, time on ice increase, all of a sudden they're on a power play unit, they could see an uptick in value, or all of a sudden you have some sneaky value for players who are playing for jobs next year. And it's tough to say who that's going to be right now. We have to really see how it shakes out, who the Rangers may get back in some of these trades. But that's what I think you're going to see a declining value for some of the players who coming into the year, the big time starters, right?
Yeah, definitely.
They're losing some of the bigger names next to them. But the young guys who may be fighting for spots may find themselves in a position of that they could succeed in, and that'll be a boon to fantasy hockey owners.
Yeah, like Anthony D'Angelo on the back end, Brady Shea, those guys get more time. Buchnevich.
I love how you...
Buchnevich. Yes.
How many tries did you get that out of?
12, maybe. Something, 13. Possibly. Yeah, guys like that. And then we don't know who they're going to bring in either.
Right.
So, I mean, that's really where they're at. It's just what the Rangers are doing. But if they go down this road, since that's what they seem to be doing, all I can say is they better continue down this road, because you can't get on and off this road. It never works out.
No, not at all. All right, folks, if you want to get yourself into next week's listener mailbag, shoot us an email, shoot us a tweet. You can email us at nhlrotobrian@gmail.com and nhlrototony@gmail.com. You can send your tweets to us at nhlroto, where I can get back to you. You can send it at T_LOC11 for Tony. hit us both up. We definitely will get back to you. We know that trade deadline's coming up for a lot of folks in the next few weeks. We talked about last week and the week before on the podcast how a lot of keeper leagues, people are starting to maneuver for playing for next year, playing for keepers, and other people making the playoff push. So if you're in that position, definitely hit us up with your trade questions. All right, fantasy sports fans, listen up. Did you know that your chances of winning on draft are 80% better than they are on other salary cap sites? That's why you need to try Draft now. No more getting crushed by the pros. More than 1 million people have already downloaded Draft. You can play in a real live NHL draft right now, be done in under 5 minutes, get paid out the next day. Drafts are filling every second, so you can join one whenever you want. And Tone, all new players get free entry into a real money draft when they make their first deposit using the promo code NHLRoto. That's right. Real live money draft for free by using the promo code NHLRoto. But it gets even better. Draft is so sure that you're going to love it. They are offering Roto Hockey Show listeners a money-back guarantee of up to $100. Just search Draft in the App Store or go to draft.com and come play free right now with the promo code NHLRoto.
Ah! Ah! Ah!
Ugh, you know what that means, Brian? It is
Yes.
time for injury news. And boy, do we have some crappy ones again.
Some doozies again.
All right, so first up with the Anaheim Ducks, John Gibson has finally been placed on the IR with a lower body injury. He took part in another workout on Tuesday, but he did not return against Buffalo. It's one of those things you're going to have to just wait and see. But Ryan Miller's played fairly decent in his absence, so he's somebody I would be looking to add if I needed goalie starts. Next up, we have Anders Bork is on the IR, considered day-to-day right now. The Boston Bruins have been just on a tear. He's been one of those young kids that have stepped up and done well this season. He's had some spurts where he scored a few points here and there. So again, nothing major, but anytime you have one of those young kids go down, that stinks. Nathan McKinnon's injury is a little bit more clear than it was last week, 2 to 4 weeks, but he was skating before practice on Monday. The coach said that there is no change to his initial timeline. They will let us know if there is, but it's good news that he's at least out there on the ice a little bit.
Yeah.
Big time injury for the Los Angeles Kings. Alec Martinez, he goes down. He is day-to-day with a lower body injury. Hits and blocks guy, gets some shots too. He's one of those like Johnny stat filler. So just keep an eye on that. He is a daily fantasy darling. He did practice on Tuesday, so we'll see what happens moving forward during the week. Jeff Carter, he's been skating near the end of Kings practice. So keep an eye on him. Hopefully he'll be back this season. A lot of us have kept him on the IR. If not, I would add him if you have a spot too. He could definitely be worth it down the stretch. Shea Weber of the Montreal Canadiens has finally shed his walking boot. So still no timetable for his return, but at least he's moving in the right direction. Philip Forsberg, Brian, one of 2 suspensions that we're going to talk about here. He got 3 games for interference on Jimmy Vesey. Jimmy Vesey now has a concussion from it. Forsberg wasn't penalized on the play, but he ended up getting 3 games for it. I don't know. Did you see the hit? It was.
I saw the replay, but I don't know.
Yeah.
There's so many of these that are ticky-tack, or in retrospect, you look at it and you're like, I don't know. And then they give him 3 games. And then you get someone like Taylor Hall who boards Kyle Okposo, doesn't even get a game for it, doesn't get a major for it, and is a play that, in all seriousness, could be inches or less or a foot away from paralyzing someone. And it like disgusts me. And I'm happy Taylor Hall got the shit kicked out of him by Alex Burrows the other night. I wish he would have like skate bladed Taylor Hall's Achilles.
Okay.
Because no, it's crazy. I'm sick of seeing guys like that, like do crazy stuff, have no retribution for it, and get away with like a 2-minute minor because they don't learn from it. And then you get someone like Ristolainen earlier this year got suspended for an interference that there was no penalty on the ice. Then Ristolainen got kicked out and got a match penalty for it and then got a larger suspension. You've got what happened to Forsberg. I mean, it's ridiculous. Well,
Alex Burrows got 10 games for kneeing a guy in the back of the head while he was on the ice. So
that's what Taylor Hall gets for almost crippling someone then.
Well, either way, it's not a good play, and it's stupid.
Yeah, it is shady, but,
Yeah, well,
whatever.
Alex Burrows has a history of doing nonsense.
He's a delinquent.
So.
And shouldn't be in the NHL.
No, well, I wouldn't go
except to rain down retribution for non-calls that player safety department is too afraid to make.
Well, I wouldn't go as far as to say he doesn't belong in the NHL. I mean, the guy's got...
Alex Burrows? Nah, he's trash. It's like Zach Ronaldo and God, who else? There's somebody else I'm thinking of off the top of my head. Who am I thinking of? There's someone else that they can't play. They're out there just running around, and there's no place for him in today's game, I don't think.
I don't know. He has had seasons where he scored a bunch. I mean, it's not like he's completely...
Yeah, well, those were years ago.
That's true. I mean, he had 15 2 years ago in 75 games.
He currently has 3.
Yeah, well, that's not surprising. Ottawa's terrible.
Well, yeah, and he's poor.
Yeah, it's not like he was on anybody's roster anyway, unless you needed penalty minutes. Bobby Ryan of the Ottawa Senators, the aforementioned Ottawa Senators, he's expected to be sidelined for a minimum of 3 weeks after ligament damage was discovered in his finger. Nothing. Cannot catch a break, this guy. So
yeah,
I mean, he's
dropping.
20. Yeah, he only has 20 points on the season, 7 goals in 39 games. So I
don't think he was very highly owned. I mean, the people are owning the name, not the stats, unfortunately.
Hornquist has been moved to the injured reserve list. Patrick Hornquist of the Pittsburgh Penguins, week to week, it sucks. I mean, 31 points in 49 games this year, boatload of hits. It just sucks. There's really not much else to say. 34 penalty minutes on the season, which is actually helpful. That's going to hurt the Penguins lineup a lot, and it's going to hurt a lot of fantasy lineups. And to finish injury news on a good note, please, 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 Mark Scheifele. Friday is your potential return. Looking forward to it. Upper body injury that put him out. Looks like he is healed from that. Friday is his return date. He's going to be on a line with Blake Wheeler and Patrick Laine. Jack Roslovich, not Roslovak. I don't know. I'm butchering it. Nobody's going to fix it. He's dropping down to the 4th line. Scheifele has 15 goals and 38 points in 38 games this season. Hopefully he is fully healed, because I'm telling you, I cannot wait to see Scheifele with Laine and Wheeler again. All right, folks, that is it for the injury news and player news as well. Next up, Brian and I are going to talk about everybody's favorite segment, the Sunday Streamers. And in this segment, we want to set you up for the weekend games a bit and tell you who might be available to add in a close matchup on Sunday to help you get the win. All players will be owned in less than 25% of leagues, so they should be available in all but the deepest of leagues. 18 teams, Brian, 18 teams play this Sunday. So here's the lineup. Boston at New Jersey, Calgary at the New York Islanders, Colorado at Buffalo, Detroit at Washington, the New York Rangers at the Winnipeg Jets, Philadelphia at Vegas, Pittsburgh at St. Louis, San Jose at Anaheim, and Vancouver at Dallas. If you're looking for points, I am going to start our Sunday Streamer segment off with Kyle Connor of the Winnipeg Jets.
He's a darling of Sunday Streamers.
He is. He really is.
We love him.
He's only 15% owned. Mark Scheifele's coming back. Kyle Connor is skating on the top power play unit. He's got 2 goals, 2 assists in his last 4 games. Winnipeg has the best home record in hockey with a 23-2 record. The Rangers are sellers at the trade deadline. They're 8-14-2 on the road. Connor gets Scheifele back on that top power play unit as well. I look for the kid's hot streak to continue.
Yeah. Speaking of hot streaks, we talked about dropping this guy months ago. And then the past couple weeks, you mentioned him as an ad. I think I mentioned him as a radar player. Well, he has done nothing but continue his play lately. That is Sam Reinhart of the Buffalo Sabres. 24% owned, but 5 points in his last 2 games, 13 points in his past 10 games, and 15 points in his past 16 games. That's dating back to the start of the new year.
Love it. I know.
So at home against Colorado, again, you've got Colorado playing back-to-backs. They're in Carolina Saturday and then having to travel to Buffalo for the Sunday game. So even though Buffalo is going to be in Boston Saturday night, I like it's not a bad flight for Buffalo to get home, sleep in their own bed, be ready for that game. Whereas the Avalanche are obviously traveling from playing the Hurricanes up to Buffalo, got to check into the hotel, all that whole shenanigan. So you know how plus it's a West Mountain time zone team instead of a West Coast team. So, travel does impact them. It's a Sunday game. Those are always it makes the week a little longer, end of a long road trip.
No, so. I like it. I love that top line in Buffalo with Evan Rodriguez and Jack Eichel with Sam Reinhart. They've looked really good. Evan Rodriguez, I don't know what it is about the kid, but he gives that line a different look. Do you know what I mean?
It's been sporadic. They put him back up there for tonight against the Islanders, and yeah, I mean he played with Eichel at BU, so there is some chemistry there. But they have used him up and down the lineup. He hasn't been healthy enough this year to really be. And then they've moved Okposo around. They've moved Kane around. It's Housley's just grasping at straws, it seems.
Well, Reinhardt's on the first power play unit with Eichel still. And then Rodriguez is centering.
That's the key.
Rodriguez is centering that second unit with Evander Kane. So, hey, maybe big things are in store moving forward.
All right. Penalty minutes, Tone. Where are you looking? I actually like where you're going here. I think that's the key matchup. So I went somewhere else because you went to the game.
Okay. Kevin Bieksa of the Anaheim Ducks, 1% owned. He's kind of a I don't know, shithead.
That's a good. I would have gone with a different word, but
okay.
that works too.
He leads the Ducks in penalty minutes by 24 penalty minutes on the season. The Ducks are the 4th most penalized team in the NHL, and they are playing the Sharks. In-state rivals leads me to believe that there could be a little fireworks. And then you add the fact that right now the Ducks are only 2 points out of a playoff spot in the Pacific Division, and only 2 points behind the Sharks means this is as close to a must-win games for the Ducks as it comes in February.
Yeah, and they had been playing terrible on their road trip. Finally got a win against Buffalo. They get back home. They're going to need these wins. I mean, in games like this when they're playing the teams right by them in the division.
Anaheim's
and the playoffs.
12-10-7 on the road and 14-9-3 at home. So that's not great.
Well, I am going to go with an old friend of the podcast, someone that we haven't used a lot this year. He's been banged up. But he is back to his old self, and that is none other than Radko Gudas of the Philadelphia Flyers. Not really. 14% owned, and he doesn't have a ton of penalty minutes on the year this year, but he got himself in a little fight the other day, and I think he has, I want to say it's either 9 minutes in the past 3 games in penalties. I think it was 7 one game and 2 the other. but I feel like he's been adding more hits, playing that physical game, and he could get himself into some trouble playing a very good, very fast Vegas team where frustrating the likes of Radko Gudas, and you see him just take a cheap penalty on the road. So kind of a hunch play by me there. But I do like that San Jose Anaheim game for potential.
When you need penalty minutes, Radko Gudas is always a pretty safe option.
Normally, but if for whatever reason, leading up to that fight he had against New Jersey, which I think it was, who did he get in a fight with?
No idea.
Travis Zajac or somebody. It was someone it was someone out of character big time for New Jersey that jumped him because he had a hit on Kyle Palmieri that was just like no reason, just randomly like jumped into Kyle Palmieri's head. Like it was like he was trying to avoid him, but instead jumped right into his head at full speed. It was like, so later on it's caused a little mini fracas at the time and then turned into later in the game, they went after him. But up to that point, like nothing. He had been, I don't want to say a choir boy, but not playing his normal game. So I feel like maybe he's got a burr under the saddle again. We'll see. All right, hits, Tone.
Nick Ritchie of the Anaheim Ducks, 4% owned. He has 155 hits on the season. Again, playing the in-state rival San Jose Sharks. He's 9th in the league in hits and is playing on the third line as well as the second power play unit. That's why I didn't go with the NHL hits leader, Chris Wagner, on the same team. At least Ritchie, can possibly get you a point or two, couple of shots on goal.
Right.
That's just not Chris Wagner. And Nick Ritchie's going to get you some power play time too. So where are you headed?
Solid pick. I am going back to that Buffalo, Colorado game. And the reason why is Nikita Zadorov of the Avalanche is heading back to his old team. And this is someone that is leading the NHL in hits in the past 2 weeks. He's second in hits in the league in the past month and 5th in the league on the season. He recently had 11 hits in a game. And twice in the past 2 weeks has had 7 hits in a game. So I think just a very, very easy decision to put Zadorov in the lineup at 9% owned on Sunday. And if you do it for the weekend, you get him for 2 games. So
there you go. All right, next up, blocks. And I am heading to the New Jersey Devils, Andy Green. 0% owned. He leads the New Jersey Devils with 108 blocks. Boston is one of the best possession teams in the NHL.
Yeah.
And the New Jersey Devils are not.
Right.
Boston is on fire right now and is only 2 points behind the Tampa Bay Lightning for first in the NHL and the Atlantic Division. Andy gets about 20 minutes a night. He's also their top penalty kill player with 3 minutes and 35 seconds of shorthanded time per game played. Boston is a young, fast team that has the ability to draw penalties. Lots of shot attempts given up, plus big penalty kill player gives me a lot of hope for some block numbers in this game for Andy Green.
All right. I am going to the Winnipeg and New York Rangers game, and it's not because the Rangers are particularly a high shot volume team, but rather that Josh Morrissey is doing great with blocks this year and is getting a ton of ice time. So at 19% owned, Morrissey on the season and in the past month is a top 10 blue liner for blocks. And again, you look at his time on ice and easily every night, 22, 23 minutes per night. And I expect them to be out there against whoever the Rangers still have at the time as their top units, that Morrissey will be the guy that's out there. And he also is contributing in the hits category as well. So kind of a twofer there with Morrissey on Sunday.
Yeah, and Morrissey will throw you some offensive stats here and there too.
Yeah, he'll find those random games to get in there and mix it in. But, I mean, blocks, go to the bank with them.
No, absolutely. So I guess that's it for Sunday streamers. Next, we're going to talk about goaltenders here. 6 teams play back-to-back this weekend. Boston, home against Buffalo, and then at New Jersey. Buffalo at Boston, home against Colorado. Colorado at Carolina, at Buffalo. The New Jersey Devils at Colorado, home against Boston. Philly at Arizona, at Vegas. San Jose at home against Edmonton, and then at Anaheim. So we got Anton Khudobin, Chad Johnson. Colorado, you've got Varlamov / Bernier, because right now Bernier is the number one. Varlamov's backing up. Eddie Lack for the New Jersey Devils because Corey Schneider's hurt and Kincaid's the number one. Philly, again, Neuwirth, Elliott, they seem to be splitting. And then Aaron Dell for San Jose. This is a pretty easy pick for me.
Yeah.
There's two guys that stick out that I want.
Yeah.
Anton Khudobin, who's been playing absolutely amazing.
Easily number one.
And then I'll take either Varlamov or Bernier, whoever's starting.
Although tonight, not a great game for either of them. They both gave up 3 goals tonight against St. Louis in his 6-1 loss as we recorded this. So, but I like the potential for the bounce back coming against Carolina and even against Buffalo. I know I talked about Reinhart and we touched upon Eichel being red hot, but the Sabres traditionally not a very high scoring team at home. Reinhart did have a goal and an assist tonight. Eichel did have a power play goal and an assist tonight against the Islanders. But so, I mean, listen, if they're not playing well, then that's a boon to Reinhart on Sunday streamers. But if you need the goalie stats, you need the goalie stats. We always say that. Sometimes it's irrespective of matchup that you have to plug some of these guys in. But I think Khudobin is the easy. But Boston definitely outclasses Buffalo in a home game on Saturday and a road game at New Jersey on Sunday. Still a plus matchup for the Bruins. So look and see if you can grab Khudobin.
Now, with Khudobin available, I mean, he's not available in a ton of leagues. Or I shouldn't say a ton of leagues. I think he's like in the 40% range. He's definitely, like you said, definitely the guy. So I like that a lot. Next up, we have our ad drops for next week. Week 18 of the fantasy hockey season, February 12th through the 18th. 12 teams have 4 games next week. Arizona, Carolina, Columbus, Chicago, Detroit, Edmonton, Florida, New Jersey, the New York Rangers, Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, and Toronto. And then Boston, Dallas, and St. Louis only play 2 games. So, Brian, if you're looking to add a forward, who are you looking to add?
Forward, I am looking at Kevin LeBanc of the New Jersey Sharks, 8% owned, but 3 goals, 6 assists in his past 10 games, playing on the top line with Hertl and Couture, playing on power play 1. Has just been pretty solid over the recent stretch here. No Thornton means these lines are probably going to stay how they are for a little bit longer, and he's producing. So again, you can't fault a guy that he's like gets a chance to produce on the top line and is taking advantage of it. And he's done it before, so this isn't a complete anomaly. So kind of ride the hot hand, but this has been going on, like I said, for 10 games now. So hopefully it continues.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys that gets just ridiculously hot and then cold as ice. So as long as he's scoring, keep him in your lineup.
Agreed. And only 8% owned too. So huge that he's going to be available.
All right. For me, my player, Alex Killorn of the Tampa Bay Lightning, is only 9% owned. He's moved up to the second line currently, and he's skating with Nikita Kucherov and Braden Point. He is also on the number 1 power play unit. Tampa Bay has 4 games next week, including back-to-back games Monday, Tuesday. Then they get, they get at Toronto, at Buffalo, then Detroit and the New Jersey Devils at home. It's not like those teams are world beaters. I'll take a shot with a player that's playing top 6 minutes and is on the number 1 power play with the leading scorer of the NHL. So Alex Killorn, 9% owned. I don't think that he's going to steer you wrong next week. That's going to bring us to defensemen. And I like your pick for defense a lot because I looked at him quite a bit as well.
Yeah, Ryan Pulock of the Brooklyn Islanders, only 6% owned, but 2 goals, 7 assists in his past 8 games, 23 shots on goal, 17 hits, 13 blocks during that same time period. And I looked at him 2 weeks ago, I think it was, when we were doing the pod as a potential player to keep an eye on. Just I had talked about dropping Nick Leddy, seeing an increased role for Pulock, and he had 4 assists in a game, which kind of looked like it might be an aberration. But that game has kind of been what he's built on these stats on. And again, so since that, 2 goals, 3 assists. So he used that game obviously as a huge bounce to get himself more playing time, and he's produced. And so at 6% owned, a good option. The Islander offense, obviously pretty good. They're playing in a lot of high scoring games given the status of their goaltending. The rest of that defense has been playing awful. So Ryan Pulock, definitely someone I'm looking to add right now.
Ryan Pulock is putting up the numbers that they wanted that they're paying Johnny Boychuk to. So,
well, and Leddy too. I mean, he was someone that Boychuk's hurt, and Leddy has just been a disappointment. He started off fine, but just for whatever reason couldn't handle. Maybe he's playing injured for all we know, but easily one of the bigger disappointments, I think, this fantasy season.
All right, my turn. I am going a little off the reservation here. Tony DeAngelo of the New York Rangers, 1% owned.
It's not off the reservation. I just talked to him a couple weeks ago and said keep an eye on him.
No.
I like that you're agreeing with me.
1% owned. In his last 5 games, he's had 10 shots on goal, 3 hits, 8 blocks. People are probably like, why would I add somebody like that? I'm calling it a calculated risk. His playing time has increased from 13 minutes to about 17:30 a game in the last 5 games. He's now getting second unit power play time. With Shattenkirk out, the Rangers they announced that they're selling at the deadline. I'm going to look for players like DeAngelo to get more playing time and the seasoning that they're going to need moving forward for this rebuild or retool, whatever they want to call it. DeAngelo was a big piece of that Stepan trade, so the kid's got skill. The Rangers are not exactly they're not they're I don't know how to I feel bad like just crushing on the Rangers, but this is what they got to do, and these are the players that have to play. So you want to have younger, faster players like DeAngelo get more playing time. So I'm going to look for him next week to really step up and step into the roles that he's going to have to moving forward. So Tony DeAngelo, 1% owned. I would definitely take a calculated risk. At least you're going to get blocks out of him. Last up, goaltenders.
I don't want to say that there's a potential goalie controversy, but Jonathan Quick gets himself injured, doesn't play, and Darcy Kemper comes in and plays lights out. And now you're reading articles about how the Kings are going to rely on both these guys for the playoffs. And Kemper only 28% owned. In the past 6 LA games, Kemper has started 5 of them. He has 4 wins, 2 shutouts, and only 4 goals against in those 5 starts. So he is just playing as good as anybody right now, as good as any other goalie in the league right now. And they have some games coming up. They're going to be on a road trip. I think they have a back-to-back tied in there. So he's definitely going to get started. So add him.
All right. I am looking at goaltender Ryan Miller, Mr. Softy of the Anaheim Ducks.
I know.
27% owned. He's filling in for John Gibson, who we mentioned is now on the IR. It's 3 road games next week. You're at Detroit, at Minnesota, at Chicago. It's not like those are the worst games to play Ryan Miller in. If you need starts, he's the guy most guaranteed to get them. So, listen, I'll take a shot on Ryan Miller. He's played well this year, and Anaheim, while they're not the greatest road team, it's not like the teams they're going on the road against are exactly lighting the world on fire. So that moves us to players to keep an eye on, Brian, and I hate you so much for taking him.
Why? You were going to do
it? I looked. I hemmed and hawed and went back and forth. And
well, I went with him because I think that Alex Kerfoot, I had talked about him early in the year. He was playing well, faded, easily a droppable player just because of where he was playing in Colorado. But with the injuries to Nathan McKinnon. He was bumped up to the top line, and unfortunately, Rantanen has been injured, so Kerfoot has actually increased his playing time even more. Now, it would be better if he was just guiding the Landeskog and Rantanen line, but listen, right now he's not producing. Rantanen is hurt, but I think if you see that line put back together and you see Kerfoot have a game or two with some points, you got to be ready to pounce on him. He's only 10% owned. That line is played so well. I understand that McKinnon is the straw that stirs the drink there in Colorado, but this kid had been productive earlier this year, and I think the talent level certainly is there, and you're in a prime spot to do it. So if it starts to happen, grab him.
All right. Next up is my player to keep an eye on, and he's owned way more than I would like a player, but Alex DeBrincat from Chicago, only 24% owned. He's getting top line minutes with Taves and Anthony Duclair, which also doubles as a second power play unit as well. Patrick Kane plays the point on both of them, I believe.
Yep.
In his last 5 games, DeBrincat's put up 5 goals, 1 assist, and 15 shots on goal. He's got 19 goals on the season. He seems to be getting his numbers, even though the rest of the Hawks aren't really doing much. And I watched him tonight, and he just looks so good with the puck. I mean, the kid gets the puck. He's flying all around. He seems to find the soft areas of the ice, and Taves is
one of these players
is good at just getting him the puck. So,
yeah, well, one of these players that a lot of people criticize as being too small, but they know how to play. I mean, the game now is a lot about what you just said: speed and getting open, and he can do that. And you see it; he's fun to watch.
All right,
but I agree, 24% owned, so it might be keep an eye on him.
Add him.
Definitely be ready to grab him. You have an injury or you're looking to replace someone that just has fallen on hard times, grab DeBrincat.
Especially with Chicago's 4 games next week. So,
yeah. All right, who are you dropping, Tom?
Oh, Brandon Montour. I can't believe I have to talk about him again.
Well, you did like him coming into the year, and unfortunately, we're talking about him for the wrong reasons.
No, I know. 44% owned. His last 12 games, he's got 3 assists, 1 power play point, 27 shots on goal, and some hits and blocks. He's on the second power play unit. His playing time is decreased to about 17 minutes a game. You can find better defense to stream at this point in the season. He is not a must-hold. Not by any stretch.
Well, I feel the same about this guy, and I feel like a lot of people are keeping him around based on reputation, based on his banger stats. But Milan Lucic, 64% owned, no goals since before Christmas, Tone. And during that stretch, only 4 assists spread out. So not producing whatsoever for going on 2 months now. So I don't know what you're waiting for. Are you keeping around just for the hits? Because you can find guys to stream for hits, and you can maybe trade Lucic to get yourself somebody else. I mean, you look at guys like DeBrincat and Sam Reinhart who are producing. You could add those guys and then go find someone to get you hits on the wire. So Lucic, definitely someone that I am casting aside now. I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel with him.
It's time to go.
Yeah, I mean, listen, tough decisions need to be made, especially if you're making a run for the playoffs. You need points. I mean, those are the hardest things to come by. Hits, not that difficult to find.
All right, that's it for the ad drops. Now we're going to talk Beer League Player of the Week.
This guy has been crazy how far up the points ladder he has climbed recently. I saw someone talking about how he has now entered the discussion for the Hart Trophy because of the way he's been playing. That's just been otherworldly.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's just been so good. You look at what Evgeny Malkin has done, and like I said, last week he put up 6 goals, 2 assists, 11 shots on goal, even added 3 blocks and 3 hits in 3 games played, 8 points. I mean, come on. I mean, Malkin is just such a good hockey player. I mean, I know how upset you were that he wasn't included in, was it the top 100?
Yeah.
And I was
Crazy.
like, I think he deserves to be there, but I'm not sure if he's there. He deserves to be there. He's definitely there. I was, yeah, just unreal.
Hey, he wasn't in the top 100 of all time, but he is the Roto Hockey Show's Beer League Fantasy Performer of the Week.
I mean,
a nice consolation prize.
6th place right now in points for the league. 62 and 51 games. Nuts. Good for you.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. That's it, folks. So if you enjoyed the show, please rate and review us on iTunes or wherever you listen to us. And remember, you can find all of our shows and all of the other great ITL fantasy podcasts on the ITL homepage, inthisleague.com. Don't forget to check out the Grandstand Sports Network. You can find our partners online at www.grandstandsportsnetwork.com and on Twitter at grandstand_SN. You can support our podcast by becoming a patron of the show. Visit our page to see all the great extra benefits we give to our generous donors. That's patreon.com/Roto Hockey Show. Depending on your level of support, this could include extra content and interaction with us, bonus podcasts, and exclusive Roto Hockey Show swag. And Brian, we put out last week a Patreon podcast about keepers for next season, risers and fallers. We just started a group me page for patrons only, where all the patrons can get together, talk fantasy hockey, bounce questions and trade ideas off of each other. It's fantastic. It's going strong. So
just another option to help them out this season. More interaction with some other diehard hockey fans and easier access to getting their questions answered by you and I and by the rest of the Roto Hockey Show Patreon community, which is obviously some folks that are like legit into, not that the rest of our listeners aren't, but I mean, I feel like the guys signing up for that are really the diehards and also the most generous of our listeners. So God bless them. All right, folks, if you want to get yourself into the listener mailbag, I mentioned it earlier, looking to fill that up for next week's show, again, with more trade and roster questions. Hit us up on Twitter at Roto Hockey Show. You can find Tony at T_LOC11. You can find me at NHL Roto. And if you want to shoot us a lengthy email and talk about walking people down the aisle and how that works out in your fantasy hockey league, like Mike's email, send us your crazy, crazy questions that are tied to like real life, like episodes. I love it. I love to see that there's like serious implications for fantasy hockey other than just bragging rights.
You know, before we close this out, I feel like you have to give Mike some tips on Mexico.
No, I will not do that until he's ready to go to Mexico.
Well, it's not that far away. So
it is. Well,
listen, before your league goal.
Hey, all right, there's 3 quick ones. I will give 3 quick ones. 1, if there is a tequila night at your resort, I recommend not trying them all.
Yeah.
And I definitely recommend not mixing beer and cigars with your tequila if you're going to try them all. Number 2, if you do decide to try all of the tequilas, keep yourself or whoever in your party does this, keep them away from fire extinguishers. And last but not least, if you find yourself getting sick, that's fine. We've all been there. Do it and then immediately remove yourself from the bathroom before you pass out and start to drink toilet water.
Yes, don't do that. And must listen to is either episode 10 or 11. Brian tells the story behind all this of the Roto Hockey Show, which was the In This League Fantasy Hockey podcast at the time. You can find it on our feed. It's either episode 10 or 11. I think it's 11, the goalie episode.
Wow. I'm starting off the show on the right foot for our listeners. So I'm shocked people stuck with us.
It's led to countless jokes and team names. So
it is legendary. It is a legendary story for folks that have listened to us for a while. So every once in a while, we got to try to.
All I can tell you, Dave or Mike, is you, Dave, Jay, and Sam really need to listen to that podcast before you go to Mexico.
Yeah. Have fun.
All right.
All right, boys. Until next week, I'm going to be basking in the afterglow of the Eagles Super Bowl victory. I'm going to go watch the parade footage and have a few more beverages in celebration.
You do that. I'm going to go for a run and try and not be sick anymore. So, till next week, folks, keep those fantasy hockey teams afloat.